looking forward to getting to know a little bit more about you. I think we have had a few meetings with Rebecca and Joy, and we have a lot of ideas on how to handle and initiate projects for 2022. And I think the idea for today is really for us to discuss, to go through these topics, to see if it makes sense for you, to make sure we take advantage of so many different people from different countries to really take our group to the next level. It's still a new group, right, Hannah? Let's comparing to the others, it's still a new group, but we're having, I think, a very positive response, right? So let's make sure we take advantage of the momentum.
Absolutely. This group is 2 years old, I think, but we've had a lot of momentum for our calls, our webinars, the initiatives that we've had so far with a lot of folks joining. So this is really great. And welcome, Carla. For the rest of the group, I welcome Carla as one of our Americas leaders alongside with Ivan. And thank you so much for joining us this morning, everyone.
Thank you very much, Hannah, Carla, welcome again. And well, we have a small agenda. First, we wanted you to introduce yourself. We see some new faces here, and I don't know if we can go forward and at least tell your name and your firm and your focus. I mean, saying compliance is saying it's like really broad, right? So if you have any focus or any specialty within the area, that will be great. So we can start the conversation. Then we will go forward to discuss a little bit about the whistleblowing systems that are in place right now. And if you have been in some way contacted or affected with the implementation of the entry of the ISO certificate. It's not a certification, it's just it's an order for whistleblowing. Then we will discuss some potential activities for the rest of the year, and just to see if you will be interested in them, or if you would like us to change a little bit, or if you have any further idea that you want to discuss for the group, because sometimes we got centered too much in a topic, and we may go a little bit broader to see and to get more ideas from you, the members, right? So why don't we start with Miko, that it's here with his.
And if I could just jump in, just so that we don't take up too much time with introductions. I've seen these kind of go off the rails, and we're 45 minutes in. Let's just take a quick 30 seconds. Okay with you, Ivan? Just a quick 30 to 60 seconds max for a little introduction of yourself, just so that we don't spend too much time, because I know that that is very easy to do. But go ahead, Mikio.
Yeah. Well, my name is Mikio Tanaka, and it's finished to talk, to be too quick. But I'm a corporate partner. But nowadays, there are so many compliance cases also for the corporate department. Now I have two parallel cases in which the foreign parent want to conduct an interview to find out what's going on in a subsidiary here in Japan. Right? And Rebecca, how do you say untoye in English?
Sorry, I forgot. Jan?
Embezzlement.
Embezzlement, yes.
Embezzlement. There's one case was embezzlement was doubted. The other case was the serious mismanagement case. And the compliance case has a big connecting point with the corporate organ structure. So that's why I'm here to join this group and to listen to your discussion. Thank you.
That's great. Why don't we go to, I don't know, anyone want to start? Jan?
Sure, I keep it short and simple. I'm Jan. I work with Rebecca at Taylor Wessing. I focus a little more on the HR issues for whistleblowing and stuff like that.
Perfect.
Nice to meet you guys.
Me too. We have two members also from Songlum. We have Juan Rojas and Kent. Why don't you go forward?
Okay. Hello, everyone. This is Kent. I work for Zhonglen Law Firm. I'm based in Guangzhou, although most of our colleagues are in Beijing and Shanghai. So recently, we have been engaged a lot in data protection, advising like foreign clients on the compliance of the newly issued data protection law in China. And as far as whistleblowing, actually, you know, in our clients, there are not many cases like that, because normally in China, you just, if somebody reporting to the authority, then the authority will conduct the investigation without knowledge of the targeted company. So I would love to learn from everybody else.
I will be very fast. My name is Juan Rojas. I'm part of Ken's team in Chonglung Law Firm in Guangzhou office, part of the international team for providing services. I'm a Mexican national and head of the Spanish desk, so glad to be here with everyone. As Ken described, we are normally right now international cases and lately advising our clients in data protection law.
Thank you. Stephen?
Hi, good afternoon or good day, everyone. I'm Stephen Powell. I'm the head of forensics at ENS Africa, a law firm in South Africa with offices in various countries in Africa. I look after the fraud and corruption fact-finding investigations and compliance generally. And we have a lot of corruption cases in South Africa at the moment. I testified twice at the State Capture Commission, revealing bribes that were paid to various government officials. And we help our clients with all aspects of anti-corruption compliance, from developing programs to advice. And we also do a lot of whistleblower investigations, determining the veracity of allegations by whistleblowers. Good to be here. This is my first meeting, so good to meet you guys. Thank you.
Good deal. I don't know anyone that wants to go forward. Manu?
Yeah, sure. Jeremy here from Campbell's in the Cayman Islands. We have 3 offices, the main office, if I can call it that, here in Cayman, and another office in the BVI and a Hong Kong office. Sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be working today. Try and sort that for the next meeting. I'm in the litigation and dispute resolution department. Recently been doing a lot of regulatory work, conducting what we call judicial review of government entities, most recently against the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, which is the financial services division, financial services regulator here. Our team deals with a lot of judicial review of government entity decisions, cross-border treaty requests for the sharing of information between various regulators, and as well as other regulatory bodies in the Cayman Islands and BVI. And first meeting here, so happy to meet you all, and thank you.
Very much.
Hi, I'm Guillermo Jorge. I lead the compliance, internal investigations, and white-collar crime department at Bruchu in Argentina. I'm here with Manu Garcia, a semi-senior associate of my team. We are a team of now, I think, 8 people, and we do everything from, compliance, internal investigations. We don't do. We have a separate team at the firm for data privacy issues, but we do everything related to whistleblowing. So happy to be here and glad to meet those that just joined the group.
Thank you. Then we can go to Rebecca, Carla.
Yeah, hello, my name is Rebecca Krause. I'm co-head of this group for EMEA. I'm a lawyer at Taylor Wessing, and I'm a corporate lawyer with a special focus on corporate compliance. So I'm dealing with compliance due diligence and M&A transactions, implementing of compliance measures, including whistleblowing systems, as well as compliance risk analysis.
Great. And anyone else? I'm just surprised to see. I think we have such a diverse background here. And as Guillermo said, at Tozini, we also don't encompass data protection within the compliance and investigation practice group. I'm one of the partners. We're 5 partners, 20 associates. We gain a lot of traction in Brazil after Operation Car Wash. So our practice at this point is mostly focused on internal investigations and interaction with authorities, either for leniency agreements or defense. But of course, I don't know if you have been sensing this, but for the past year, especially after the pandemic, we're receiving a lot of requests, for example, gap analysis. So companies already have a compliance programs and they just want to see how they can improve it. A very big focus in Brazil, apart from traditional corruption and bid rigging, is also government sales. So how companies, I mean, the public sector is a big part of companies doing business in many Latin American countries, and Brazil is no different. We have very specific laws, and then when you don't follow them, they're major problems. And then I think most of our internal investigations today are involve government sales. And I think what Tanaka-san mentioned is really interested in terms of embezzlement cases or fraud cases. I don't know if that's your perception as well, but we do expect many cases involving accounting fraud, for example, which was what we saw after, for example, the 2008 crisis, because while many companies thrived in the pandemic, many others had a very difficult time, and especially for subsidiaries, that's where accounting issues may come up. So, and this is all to say, I really think we should discuss what is going to be our main focus for the year, because we have such diverse practices. So we're talking about fraud, we're talking about corruption. Are we going to focus on ESG? Are we going to focus on data protection, on whistleblowing laws, on investigations, on interaction with authorities? So although, of course, we don't need to pick one, but I do think we should have a more defined line, considering how diverse this group really is.
That's exactly the point. For myself, I'm Ivan. You'll have received at least one email from me in the past, inviting you to join the group. I'm a member of Santa Marina Esteta in Mexico City, and I actually do compliance, very focused on anti-corruption issues and antitrust. So it's an antitrust, complete antitrust litigation, merger review, and compliance. So I got here and into the compliance world because of antitrust. That is my main focus. But yes, we are a very diverse group with very different backgrounds, and even though the heads of each continent and myself have been talking about the topics that we may discuss with you, probably for some of us will not be that interesting or will not be that actual. For example, the whistleblowing topic here in Mexico is non-existent, right? You just have a mention of one line in the law that you may receive a very limited discount in your fine if you are found to be corrupt. If you have a complete integrity program that shall include a whistleblowing system. Fine. There is nothing more in the law. There is not other requirement. If you just put a telephone there and no one answer, actually, you will still have the discount in your fine. So that's why for the Mexican practitioners was very important or very good to have the ISO norm in place, because that will give us a little bit more tools to go to the government or to the legislature and say like, hey, you have to implement these kind of rules in some way, right? You cannot just leave one line in a law saying that you may want to have one whistleblowing system if you want to have a discount fine. There is no leniency, there is no actual benefit from it. And it is actually, you don't know how that fine will be lowered down. So it can be from 1 peso to all the fines. You don't know, it's completely up to the authority. So no one is actually doing. And we have found like really, really complicated issues with that. For example, harassment complaints going directly to the one that is harassing the employees, right? So there is no, in Mexico, we're very, very far behind some other countries in whistleblowing. So I thought that it was going to be a good topic, at least to discuss, if you have received any request for your clients to give advice or on how to implement the norm, or how that ISO norm may contrast with the new EU regulation, for example, or complement it. So I thought about that topic, and I don't know if you have seen anything in your countries about that.
Even when we talked about that, I had told you that the landscape in Germany and in the EU is completely different, because here it's one of the most hottest topics in the legal compliance world at the moment, because of the EU directive, which had to be implemented until the end of the year in the different countries. A lot of countries haven't implemented the EU directive yet. The EU directive is saying that the companies should have a whistleblowing system. The companies with more than 250, and as of 2023, at the end of 2023, with more than 50 employees, should have such a whistleblowing system in order to avoid negative consequences in case of a report of employees. And therefore, it's a very hot topic, because the companies now ask what should they do at the moment, because of this directive has not been implemented in Germany and also in other countries. Should they wait until we have an implementation law? Should they not wait? And the second question is, what should they do when we have an implementation law? Is it sufficient to have one whistleblowing system for the whole group, or also worldwide, or do they need different whistleblowing systems? So these are the questions of our clients at the moment. Ivan, you're on mute.
I have a question exactly for that, because I have seen some clients in the EU that they are based, for example, in Luxembourg or in Monaco, but they don't have any operations there, right? All their employees, they just have the president, the general director, and some political aspects there, and accounting. And then you have the full subsidiary, for example, here in Mexico, the production, the factory, the employees are all in Mexico. Are those employees that you were mentioning, the 50 or the 250 employees, have to be in the EU, or it can be a group that can be just like the top of management in the EU, or the accounting or the tax domicile in the EU, but the actual operations are outside the EU, and you have to implement it as if all the employees were there, or not?
No, the directive is saying, and also the implementation law will say that each company counts. So if they have only a holding company in Luxembourg, but other companies over the world, then each company is counting. So yeah, you have to have a whistleblowing system for each company with more than 250 or 50 employees in the future.
Okay, that's great. I don't know if from other countries, for example, Carla or Jeremy have seen anything about that, about whistleblowing and how to implement different norms.
Short answer from the Cayman Islands is no. We've got whistleblowing provisions here in various acts or statutes, but to my knowledge, none of them have been the subject of any case law or any judicial consideration. That is perhaps somewhat unsurprising, bearing in mind that kind of the confidential nature of a whistleblowing issues that would come up here. It may be that, you know, they just haven't seen the public eye here, but there's certainly been no, that I'm aware of, as I say, judicial consideration of them from a litigation standpoint. They are fairly relatively new provisions in our acts anyway, so it might just take some time to come through the pipeline.
Well, Brazil also has whistleblowing laws, but it's really preliminary. Most of them needs regulation. What has been implemented but not tested yet are the rewards, right? So there is a fear of bounty hunters as in the US, but it's really preliminary, and absolutely no discussions such as in EU of an independent whistleblowing hotline, for example. So I'd say it's really, we have laws protecting against retaliation and incentivizing whistleblowing, but they're babies. We're giving baby steps in Brazil.
I have a question. In your countries, for example, here in Mexico, an antitrust is very far more advanced than in any other kind of laws or whistleblowing system. The whistleblowing system for antitrust is completely set up, and there's a law and there's protection for the whistleblower and leniency. In your countries, you have it, or is it general for all kind of cases, or is it just for example, for anti-corruption or white-collar crimes? Because here in Mexico, apparently the only area that is completely protected is antitrust, and anti-corruption. It's just that mention that I said to you in the law that said that you will have a discounted fine, but that's all. I don't know if whistleblowing in your countries cover more areas.
Oh, Ivan, just to double check, you're focusing more now on self-reporting.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, in the whistleblowing system here in Mexico, you have this protection for whistleblowers in the law, but just for anti-corruption and antitrust. If you go to fraud, you don't have that kind of whistleblowing protection. It's just focused on anti-corruption and antitrust, but there is no protection in any other law for whistleblowing.
It's the same in Argentina, Ivan. We have a specific corporate criminal liability law for corruption, and there are some rules for whistleblowing, corporate whistleblowing, and also individuals blowing the whistle in these cases. And there is a provision in the antitrust law as well. It doesn't work for other cases, except in criminal cases for cooperator defendants, I would say. And with regard to case law, we have some case law in corruption cases, and it's absolutely, you know, by contrast with Mexico, is absolutely non-existent in the antitrust space so far.
Steven, you were going to talk?
Yes, thanks. In South Africa, we have quite strong witness protection laws for whistleblowers. And it's not just for corruption or antitrust, it's for all kinds of acts of dishonesty, discrimination, any kind of information that assists the company in maintaining integrity and identifying irregularities is protected as long as the whistleblower information, the allegation or report is made in good faith. It has to be bona fides. And then we talk about protection against occupational detriment. So, you know, if you get demoted, fired, transferred, etc. So it is good laws, but it's on paper protection. And the reality in South Africa is that we've got a history of whistleblowers being persecuted, fired, dismissed, transferred, and particularly in the public sector where people have blown the whistle, the laws have been shown to be very ineffective. And we've been talking about just revolutionizing and enhancing whistleblower protection for many years, but we don't seem to progress. Thank you. There were quite a number of whistleblowers who came forward, which helped with the State Capture Commission, and they revealed bribes to government officials, etc., that helped expose some of the state capture with the Gupta family and our president, former president, I should say. Thank you.
Thank you. From China, you have any comment?
Okay, so in China there is no whistleblowing law. So basically, as far as the corporate a corporate is concerned, there is no requirement to establish in the whistleblowing system, and there is no liabilities for for the company to not establish the system. Basically, the company just have to establish its own working system if they want to. So normally, what we do is that when there is like a requirement of other jurisdiction to do the investigation in relation to whistleblowing a case, then we sometimes help like foreign lawyers to do that, but it's not legally required in China. And as far as the criminal case is concerned, there is like a general requirements to protect the the identity of the whistleblower, but this have to say that is not always respected. If you know the situation in China, and sometimes people's relation prevail. So that's basically the situation in China.
Thank you very much for sharing. I see that there are two members of Payet. I think it's Peru.
Right. Hi to everyone. My name is Eric Palau. I'm senior associate at Payet Rey Caubi Perez Abogados in Peru. I'm specialist in criminal law and criminal compliance. I have experience in implement compliance programs to prevent anti-money laundering and also bribery acts. And also I have experience in internal investigations. In Peru, the law of criminal responsibility of legal entities established that the whistleblowing system is a necessary element to have a crime prevention model in Peru. And also it's necessary to have a complaints channel, and a procedure to investigate the complaints. And also it's necessary that in this reporting system, we have to protect the whistleblower, and also you can complain anonymously or also confidentially in Peru, And that's that can I talk of the law of Peru.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything else.
Well, a quick update from Japan. We have also a whistleblower law, but it was very, mild law, and the threshold for the application was very high. For example, the subject matters must be, had to be punishable under Criminal Act. Then it was, the threshold was very high, but it was amended, And now it is now extended to actions that violate the administrative law. But it's not a great extension anyway. But but the latest big development is that this year, until this year, the exact date has not yet been set. But rumors say as around June this year, the companies must introduce a system, procedures, what will if in case there's a whistleblowing, because the whistleblowing law did not function until now because the employee they were not sure whom to talk to this. If they talk to their boss, it's the end of it's finished. So now, although the company has to introduce a fair system, to appoint certain person who shall be in charge of that and so on. But this applies only to an entity with more than 300 employees. Right? And for smaller entities, it's only best effort basis. So it's still, although this whistleblowing case it's a area where Western, justice and our traditional legal culture collide head on. Because I think the situation is not that different in China, I guess, because we have the Confucianism way of thinking, and we shall obey to the this the vertical hierarchy is very important in the Confucianism culture, and this whistleblowing rule is it's contradicts with this culture. So there's always big discussion on the amendment of this law. So, but step by step, it's improving, and one thing what I can add is that the problems tend to occur more for a company where the corporate organ structure is very simple. Right? And now, although we have from the 2006, there was a big corporate law reform, right? And the corporate organ structure can be designed in a very flexible manner, right? And until that time, it was almost a copy of the German legal system. But now it's a mixture of American system, and it has become quite unique, right? But the companies who introduced a very simple corporate structure, right? And these companies, although this kind of, I don't want to use the word corruption, but the problems tend to occur more. There shall be those organ through which you can control the local director. Though this kind of structure is needed to prevent these problems not to happen. Sorry, I talked too much. Thank you.
No, and it's perfect.
No, and if I was gonna say, I mean, we face the same problem in Brazil. I mean, culturally, it's really hard for people to come forward. It has a negative aspect to it, especially within a corporation. I mean, we've been through a dictatorship in the 70s, so whoever was pointing the finger, the other person would disappear, right? So it's really counterintuitive for Brazilians. I mean, I think everything changed after car wash. So maybe you need to face a bigger case where you have a lot of people coming forward to try to normalize, right, the act of whistleblowing. But if you agree, maybe we can talk about our next topic in the agenda, which is ESG. Right? I think this is, Ivan, I don't know if you want to talk more about it. You had great ideas in relation to how to develop the subject in a series of webinars, right? Or
yes,
yes,
and this was actually an idea brought by Rebecca on how we can start exploring new topics.
Sorry, Rebecca. So I misled everyone. Apologies.
No, it's perfect. At the end, what we want to do is Normally, we, at least in the last year, what we did was to find some, in the beginning for the initial conference or webinar, we have some very good speaker, and we brought Dragos Kos with the help of Guillermo. And then this year we were thinking about implementing some kind of webinars or series on ESG and how ESG affect the compliance practice. It is a hot topic all over the world. More and more companies and clients of us are asking us to have some ESG implementation within our firms. It doesn't have to be probably only about what we are seeing in our clients or the market is requesting, but how are we as law firms going to implement and comply with all that standards, right? Most of our firms are not small firms, and we, at least here in Mexico, most of the law firms are some kind of struggling on how, for example, we are signing commitments to ESG, and we don't know exactly our commitment to the environmental part of the ESG as a law firm, more than stop printing that much in our lawsuits, right? So basically, and we cannot stop that, you know, if you want to if you need to file it in paper, you will file your lawsuit in paper, right? So we actually are some kind struggling. Not only we're very good in advising our clients on that, we are not that very good on knowing how to implement in our own law firm as a service law firm, but we're being requested to comply in some way. And we have contractual commitments right now to comply with ESG standards with several of our clients. And for example, with the environmental, we are having some problems like, hey, you have to show us that you are complying with the environmental part. And we are, okay, we have, I don't know, we're recycling the paper in our law firm, and that's basically our contribution. But I mean, that topic can be explored from two sides on how the world is leading to ESG and how ourselves and our practices are trying to fit in that ESG world, right? So those are the two views or the two scopes that we can give to this kind of series. We're thinking in having a conference probably in May, one in August and one in November. The first with environmental, the second focus on social aspects, and the last on corporate and corporate governance. We're thinking, of course, of inviting other groups because there is a group on corporate governance or more in corporate issues that could bring very good ideas. And this is, at least in most of the Mexican firms, the ESG groups have been conformed with people from different practice areas, not only the compliance. We've had the
I think that's a great point. And I was going to say that, for example, ESG is a really small part, for example, of what we do, because whenever there's an ESG aspect, we involve the environmental group, the corporate governance group, right? Or the human rights group to try to give that different approach on how to include these aspects. In Brazil, they're calling, I don't know if you're having the same discussion, but they're calling an integrity system. So instead of a compliance program, it's an integrity system that you have to build. But again, as is the case with many topics in compliance, it's not only something led by compliance, right? And I think the idea here, which I thought was very interesting, is to have a more multidisciplinary approach. And that's where inviting other groups to join the discussion came up, right? And again, happy to hear everyone's thoughts on whether this may be interesting for you. How do you feel about inviting other groups? Whether it's different in your offices?
Yeah, Carla, I've noticed, this is Hannah just jumping in, I've noticed a number of our firms have dedicated ESG practices now that probably incorporate members from all of the various other practice groups, including compliance, environmental, corporate governance, et cetera. And so it is something on my agenda, at least in the next 6 to 12 months this year to consider us having a dedicated ESG group, because I haven't had a meeting in months where it hasn't come up in some way, shape, or form.
Yes, here in Mexico, for example, what we did, at least in Santa Marina, we decided that an ESG group, it was good for marketing, but in the inside of the firm, it was good just to have it separate. We have the environmental experts, we have the compliance experts, the corporate governance experts. But for marketing purposes, it was good to say like we have a group, compliant, an ESG practice, but in the end, it is so broad that it was very difficult to say that, okay, this is an expert on ESG. You cannot, at least from our perspective, was not possible, right? So we decided to train some associates on project management, and we send them to a course outside Mexico on project management, and they are actually the ones that are leading some kind of these projects, but just contacting each part of the law firm, right? And they are members of the compliance practice, these project managers. So it is just for you to consider in the future, right? And but I don't know if you think Guillermo or Steven, if this topic is interesting or not for you and your the development of your clients.
I think the topic is a hot topic, as you said. Of course, it's an interesting topic. I don't know whether it's a topic to handle within our group, or as Hannah said, it's going to be a separate group within the Warlock group dedicated to ESG. In our firm, we have I mean, we put together a group of different practices. So we have, I think we are 11 partners that are part of the ESG group. We have one associate that coordinates the group, but of course we have, we are very strong in financial issues. So there are two partners from the banking department that they do all the green financing. But of course, the members of environmental and those that are, reinventing themselves, like the people from oil and gas, but they know everything about, the transition, energy. They bring all their knowledge to this group. Of course, Fernando Bash and myself, as members of or partners of the compliance department, are member of the group. We have people from human rights, business and human rights. So yeah, we have this. My impression is that we are, so far what we are trying to do is try to understand which is the best way to add value to our clients in putting all this, apart from marketing purposes that, everyone is having an ESG group at the firms. Externally, we are trying to understand which is the best way of adding value to our clients, and we are designing products to that end. We have a monthly call, and we are trying to understand which is the best way of putting together all this knowledge. Internally, as you said, well, yeah, last year, for instance, there was an internal campaign at the law firm where, we replaced all plastic for glass, and we don't print much now, etc. The small things that we can contribute with, especially with the environment. But as products, we are still discussing internally which is the best way of adding value exclusively from a law firm, where we don't have the technical knowledge as technical engineers working in sustainability reports of all oil and gas companies are doing, but specifically from the law firm, how can we add value to our clients? So the group has been formed around 6 months ago, and we are creating new products and start really, and discussing among ourselves which is the best way of selling this to the market.
Maybe one product, talking about products, what might be interesting for you is that the German big companies, they have to do suppliers monitoring beginning in 2023. And that also includes suppliers abroad from Germany, which is a big issue. And they all need local counsel in the various countries to run those suppliers monitoring. This is maybe something that can be very interesting for you guys.
Yeah, but you mean, Jan, because of course our environmental practice is very required to do so already when it goes to environment, and sometimes we, the compliance group, of course, we do third-party due diligence for subsidiaries. So the question, and of course we go to pitches all together, and we know that the requirements now are broadly, and we try to sell all together. The question for us is whether this should be, more efficient, or is just a summatory of different practices that we are putting together because there is a new umbrella called ESG. That's basically our discussion internally. I'm interested in having your thoughts.
Yeah, I think my thought is that this topic ESG and CSR is so big. We have the same discussion at Taylor Wessing. We have a lot of lawyers are participating in this kind of group and talking about ESG as a marketing topic. That is good, and I like the idea, and everybody should do that. But I think behind these marketing issues, CSR, I think there are concrete issues that actually generates work right now. And I think what I meant, one of the hard factors of the hard law, which will definitely create work in an international context, is these kind of supplier monitoring you have to do. And this is also, that falls under the umbrella ESG and CSR, because what you have to do with your suppliers, you have to monitor them whether they comply with environmental and you know what I mean, and human rights. And this has to be done with boots on the ground. Nobody will send a Taylor Wessing lawyer from Germany to, I don't know, Argentina or Brazil to monitor a supplier. We have to call somebody and ask them, can you do that monitoring for us? And the question is, what kind of law actually applies? Is that Argentinian law? Is that German law? Or is that world law? Nobody knows that right now. But it is a process, and you have to do that on a questionnaire basis. Yeah. This is something, we're at the beginning right now. We have 1 year time. I mean, it really gets kick-started in 2023 then. But it is worthwhile to use 2022 to think about on real products we can offer to our German clients and bring you guys in place for this kind of topic.
Absolutely.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, just to give you an example, I mean, I don't know how many suppliers Volkswagen have. I don't know, 1 million? I don't know how many of them are working in Brazil, China, Argentina, and actually they have to go there, and they need, and right now everyone is thinking, let me alone. I don't want to think about that, because that is so, it's so annoying. I don't really want to do that. But in the end of the day, they have to do that, and they need local counsel.
And as well as good coordination, right? Jan, you have how is it going to be effective, and how are we going to apply the necessary standards, and how are these standards going to be at least minimally equivalent for each of the countries that you're coordinating, right?
Yeah, you need an efficient process to get grip on this issue.
Exactly. Certainly something to think about. And if you I think we can go on this particular topic for a very long time. Maybe, I don't know if everyone is in agreement on moving forward with ESG, or if we can, for example, Hannah, I don't know if we can do a poll. People can vote or suggest. I mean, I don't think we have to conclude at this very meeting, but it would be comfortable if by the end of February we have a direction to follow. I just wanted to address one last topic. We are, I think we're about to conclude the format, but we're thinking of an anti-corruption manual. So we've set up a form, and with inputs from Rebecca, we're trying to streamline it to make it as objective as possible. There are a lot of yes or no questions and a field for comments. So for example, is there corporate criminal liability? What are the main anti-corruption laws? What are the penalties? Is there leniency? Is having a compliance program and affirmative defense? So this is the kind of question that is encompassed within the form. The idea is that you can complete it in the least amount of time possible. And in the end, what we would like to have is this unified chart containing main aspects of anti-corruption laws within the countries that are member of the World Law Group. So something that would be easy to put together, but that we have something that not only help us in our day-to-day with our clients, but also that can be advertised outside, right? So the idea is for us to send you by the end of this month, the form, if you think this is a good idea. I don't think it's gonna take a lot of time. Rebecca, Ivan, I don't know if you wanna comment. We're doing our best to make it short.
Yeah, I think there will be a lot of yes and no question, and it's free. You are free to put in any comments to your answer. So if you only answer with yes or no, it will not take a lot of time.
Yes, and that's exactly what we don't want you to do. We want you to be very objective, to be. It is a simple guide, of course. If you need some real specific country advice, you will go to someone in the World Law Group to get that advice, but it's just for a quick reference, right? And it's basically edited for you just to put yes, no, and probably if there's something to add on, you can add on, but it's just a yes or no answer in most of the questions. So it will take.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
but most.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the leaders, we agreed one or two of you at least would put together your responses so that we could see what we're expecting from others. That way it'll be a true guide for you to create your own guide.
That's a very good point, Hannah. And the idea is that at least the 3 and 4 of us with Joy put together our answers. So it's you have very clear what is to be fulfilled and how much information we're expecting.
Right.
And does anyone have any doubt about that? Well, I think that with this, we concluded the agenda. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything else to the conversation or say goodbye to everyone.
I did want to note, I dropped in the chat, if you all didn't see it, a link to a webinar that focuses on ESG in law firms. It's happening today at 12 Eastern. It's a former WLG colleague of ours who's gone and started her own business. She was with Alfaro in Argentina, and now she has a business that focuses on ESG and CSR. It may be something that you all would be interested in if you have time in your schedule today to attend. I want to say it's like a $10. It's a very minimal registration fee.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Well, then we will be in contact. Probably we will put on the form for you to for the poll on the ESG topics, and either if you want to send any other interesting topic for us to discuss, or to have any conference or webinar or just discussion among the group, then at the end of the month you will be probably receiving the request for you to fill in the anti-corruption guide. It shall take you 15 to 20 minutes at the most, or at least that's our intention. And we will probably schedule for May or the end of May, the next group meeting with one of the topics we choose from the poll.